Good morning. Good morning. It's 2:54 a.m. I'm on my way to the gym right now. I'm gonna share with you the thing that I've been struggling and I think that's bothered me the most lately, and it's really been and I'm trying to watch how I say it because I don't want it to come across any kind of way, but it's my son Silas. Silas is 8 years old, and if I think back, I look at my kids. Now, Malachi's not my biological, but if you look at the time that I came into Malachi's life, I want to say he was about 9 or 10. He's 19 now. At the time I came into his life was right about the time that things started getting, there was a lot of turmoil going on in mine. So I've been able to see Malachi graduate from high school. So when he turned 18, he was graduating from high school. When I turned 18, I was being transferred to the adult prison system. And I've been able to see the flip side of what a normal teenage life has been like through the eyes of Malachi, something that I didn't have from the age of maybe 13. And when I say I didn't have it, I was in jail from the age of 13 all the way up to the age of 26. So there was a piece that was missing. And I've been able to see the blessing in that. But with Silas, now Silas is 8 years old. So if Malachi came into my life when he was 9 and Silas is 8, well, then that kind of gives you an idea about the transformation of what I am able to see and what I am able to come to the conclusion of why I am observing this. And Silas is so much like me. I could tell because people wanted to whoop me. People wanted to whoop me. They wanted to whoop my butt. I remember visiting my second aunts and cousins and back east, and them chasing me around with a switch or a belt trying to whoop me because of something mischievous that I did that irritated them so much that they wanted to lay hands on a 6, 7, and 8-year-old little boy. And that's the same way it is with Silas. For all the pluses that he has, you can't help but want to beat his tail until he passes out. And what's been troubling me about it lately is it seems like I'm losing my patience with him. And the funny thing is, he really is like me. His mannerisms, his strength, he doesn't back down, even to me. And some people might think, well, you're the father, you're the parent. Stand down. You got to remember something. They're only children for a very short period of time, and those children end up turning into adults, and those children end up turning into adults with children and with responsibility. And what they learn at this age is going to dictate what kind of human being they are at the latter stage. And one thing I don't want to ever do is take away who he is or who God intended him to be. And so I try to be very discretionary with my discipline, but not with my love. And that's hard to do when you have a child that's like him, that was like me. Because he's so strong. All my children are strong, all of them. But he's strong in a sometimes it's hard to love you strong, because you just do some things that have me wondering, like, dude, are you crazy? And when I say I'm struggling with it, it's because I get so upset with him that I'm just like, I gotta get away from him. And I just ask God that he gives me the insight to be able to deal with a strong individual. Us as men, we sometimes are disrespectful to women because women are strong, and we don't ever like anything to touch our cool. We don't ever like anything to touch our, to try to saddle up to who we consider ourselves to be, or our strengths. We don't ever want nothing to get close to that, because especially if you have that alpha male attitude. But the woman is the backbone of the man. She is the rib. She's the she's the good thing. So in relative terms, you got to be able to accept strength. You got to be able to recognize somebody else is strong or coming into their strength, and you got to know how to kind of let them be them and embrace that, while at the same time not losing yourself or losing your cool. So I wrote down on my mirror, I had a bunch of slogans and saying on my mirror for the better part of 2019. And I wiped it all down because I thought I had it, pretty well under control and committed to heart. And, some of the things I've maybe faltered on, and maybe felt a little bit weak or suspect or just fell weak too, but I wiped it off and started writing some new stuff up there. The thing that came to my mind today that I wrote up there, and that I'll keep up there, because if I write something on my mirror, it means it's something that I want to change. It's something that I want to be reminded of constantly, because the one place where you have an opportunity to look yourself in the mirror is in the mirror. And I spend every morning shaving my head. There's not a morning that goes by that I don't shave my head. And while I'm shaving my head, I'm thinking, and I'm adjusting, and I'm making changes, and I'm making alterations. And the thing that I wrote on my mirror today it says, stop fussing at your children. They're a reflection of you. They're just a reflection of you. And you can't very well dislike your child's attitude and think that you love yourself. And that's what I struggle with the most, is because sometimes I don't like how he acts. But I gotta remind myself, he's just like me. And not to kind of toot my own horn or say anything special or specific about myself, but I like how I turned out. Yeah, true, I might not have all the friends in the world, but I like the fact that I'll tell you the truth, or the truth as I see it. I might not have the ideal body, but I got the strength to get up and go every day to the gym and try to work it out. I like who I am. My business may not be the best in the valley or in the world, but I like where it's going. I done came a long way from super high max prison facilities with 24-hour lockdowns, armed guards, shackles on my feet, handcuffs on my wrist, doors that slide open by electronic switches, lights that are turned off manually or automatically at a specific time, controlled environment, chow hall lines, stabbings, weekly visits that never come, letters that never show up. I done came a long way from that. And I look around my house, and this morning it was crazy because Silas was, he was on the floor in our room because we were watching a movie. And then I wake him up to use the restroom, and then he jumped in our bed, and I went and said my prayer. I always say my prayer before I leave. Whatever business I need to take care of with God, whatever, relationship I need to keep building with God, I get that done before I leave. And after we were done, I went into my room, and Silas and I and my wife are all in the same bed, and I look at my kids. I look at the two youngest ones, and they're just laying there, and boy, they look so peaceful. Nothing like when they're awake. There's 2 points in the time when kids are at their best: when they're asleep and when they first wake up, because it's all good, but let them get a little bit of energy up in them, well, they go 0 to 60 real quick. And just kind of checking them out, and I stood there, I just was looking at them, and I was so overwhelmed with the fact that I've been trusted with something so precious, something so important. These human beings, these people who at some point in time are going to grow to do great things. I've been entrusted with that. And as far as immature, because I got a lot of immaturity in me. Trust me, ask my wife, I got a lot of immaturity in me. That's one thing I won't deny. I think, that 10 years I was in prison, I'm 41. I actually think I'm 31, because it put me in a time warp mentally. Because men don't start to mature until they 40 and 50 anyways. It doesn't mean I don't handle my business. My bills are paid on time. I show up to the business, to my work, and for my clients and my family. I show up big time. But boy, I got some immaturity in me that if you didn't know, and you just see me, you'd be like, boy, what's wrong with him? But for all that, I look around and I'm like, dude, you done trusted me with some pretty important things. And he doesn't just do that to anybody. He doesn't just do that for anybody. Trust me, there's people out there that want kids, they can't have kids, that not to say God don't trust you with that, but God has given them to me, and I would have never thought that I would be in that position. I remember when my wife told me she was pregnant. I was thinking, I didn't even think I could have a kid. Then I went and popped out 2 biologically. I was like, all right, man. And I thought that was a huge blessing. I like kids and all the good stuff that come with them. I just got here to the gym. Parking ticket. But I just looked at him, and I stood there, and I just kind of soaked up the moment. And I just kind of, I whispered in Silas's ear. I said, I love you. And gave him a kiss. I do that every morning. That's nothing new for me. And then I leaned over, and Sanaya, and, brushed the hair out of her face, and leaned over, gave her a kiss, and said, I love you. And just kept it like that. But just was really inside of that moment of complete and total gratitude and overwhelming thankfulness that I've been given the opportunity to be the head of something so very important, like a child that God has trusted me with to do the right thing, and to raise, and to just bless our lives. And I remember I went to Silas's school, because another situation where I was like, I told his teacher I wanted to sit in the classroom one day, just one random day, and just kind of check out what he's doing. And I did. I sat in there for a couple hours. I took time out of my day, and I sat in there for a couple hours. And I remember as I was walking up to the classroom, there's this big board, and it's got all these different things from the students in the classroom that they had written for that month or that day or whatever the case may be. And everybody was writing what they were thankful for and a whole bunch of stuff on this paper. And I went and found Silas's, and one thing I noticed about my children is my children know God. They talk about God. And one thing that I looked through all the rest of the kids, because I wanted to get an overall of what do kids think? What are kids' minds set on? And most kids were like my mom, my dad, or my mom, my dad, or my sister, my brother, or my toys, or a trip I went on. And that's all good. But when I looked at Silas's and I took a picture of it, I was proud because he had mentioned God about 10 or 15 times in there. What God is doing, how God is there, how God is this, how God is that, how God was moving. And the fact that he kept God on his tongue. And I could tell it wasn't scripted because everybody's was different, but his was centrally focused on what God is doing is monumental. So I have to be mindful. We as parents have to be mindful that our children will eventually grow into whatever it is that we put into them. So whatever we put in is what we'll get back. So when we don't put anything in, we don't get anything back, and then we end up wondering why our kids go astray. Is because sometimes we lose focus of who they are and how much they're so much like us. How much they're so much like us. And we, especially for me, people did not know how to. People thought in school, because I didn't get along in school, and all my teachers were women, that I didn't like women, because some type of some type of longing for my biological mother to be in my life. So I hated women. I was just like, everybody becomes some type of psychoanalyst of me and who I am. And little did they know, I was just a strong-minded individual who wasn't just settling for whatever it is you wanted to try to sell me. Yes, you're the adult, but just like anybody who's working at a store and I don't feel comfortable with the answer that they gave me, or if I call a customer service rep and I don't feel comfortable with the answer they give me, I'm gonna challenge that. I'm gonna challenge that answer that they gave me until they come up with an answer, or answer my question in a way that's satisfactory to my needs. And that's the type of child I was. And that's the type of child Silas is. And that's the type of child that Sinai is. And that's the type of child Malachi is. And that's the type of person that we are, is that we challenge things until we get the answer. And we take that as somebody being rude. Or we take that as somebody being arrogant. Or we take that as somebody being disrespectful if they're a child. So the thing that I struggle with the most lately is finding that delicate balance of you being your person that you are intended to be and growing into, and me being your father and loving you and respecting space, because you're a human being. You're a child now. My job is to rear you and love you, but his job is to grow and be the person that God called him to be, and I don't want to interfere with that. So you have to keep in mind, when you fussing at your children, sometimes you're fussing at a mirror reflection of something that you once were. Don't take away their freedom to be the child that they want to be and flex the skills and the muscle that they have now, because all they're doing is simply sparring to become the person that they are intended to be. That's it.